I finally got my hands on a brand new Van Rysel race bike. But was it worth the wait? Is it worth the hype? Why is it the hottest bike in 2024? Well, over the next few weeks, I aim to find out. But today, I just want to give you a first look at the new bike and some other new bikes and products that have arrived for testing here at Just Ride Bikes. The brand new Van Rysel RCR, the company's flagship race bike with loads of aero features designed in collaboration with a university in Lille, where the company is based, was launched at Sea Otter Classic in California about a year ago, where I first saw the bike and filmed the bike. And since then, it's gone on to become quite a hit, both with the pros and us consumers. So they are sponsoring a team, and that team is doing pretty damn well with loads of wins across the pro calendar so far, and seems to be performing at a very high level. And a batch of bikes sold out within minutes a few weeks ago. So a bike that gone from launch to very successful in a short amount of time. Now the pros are racing the RCR Pro, the flagship model. The bike I have here is just a standard RCR, but with a SRAM rival access group set, is retailing in the UK for £4,500, so pretty good for the money. And the specification includes a power meter and a Zip 303S carbon fibre wheels with Michelin Power Cup tyres, and all the finishing kit looks good as well, Data handlebar and stem for example. And the frame has all the same features and aero shapes as the Pro level. The main difference is in the carbon fibre used in the construction. So that RCR Pro has fancier carbon fibre for a lighter frame, a claimed 790 grams, while the frame I have is claimed to weigh 830 grams, so a bit heavier, but only 40 grams, which is pretty decent. There will be differences in stiffness and how the bike reacts, but unless you ride both bikes side by side, I think this bike should offer plenty of good performance. So a bit heavier on the scales. The bike here with the SRAM rival access group set weighs 8 kilos on my scales without pedals, so pretty decent for a carbon fibre race bike with a SRAM rival group set. One key difference on this bike versus the Pro, which I think is perfect for the target consumer for the bike, is a more conventional two-piece handlebar and stem, but the brake hoses are still routed underneath the stem into the frame, so nice and clean, no cables catching the wind in the front of the bike, whereas the top level bikes get a one-piece carbon aero handlebar and stem. So small difference there, but you can swap the stem and the handlebar on the bike much more easily. So it's a smart looking bike, looks great in the flesh, comes in the white I have here or a blue, plenty of sizes, and the company website is showing stock at the moment. So I'm going to be riding this bike over the next few weeks on my local roads. The weather is looking good at the moment, so good for getting the miles in. So let me know what you think of the bike and what you want me to focus on in a review of the bike coming up in the near future. I'll put a link to the website down below if you want to check it out in more detail. It must be race bike season because another race bike has arrived for testing. This is the new Ridley Falcn RS that launched late last year. Finally had my hands on one to test, and very keen to see how Ridley is doing these days. So Ridley is a Belgian company, have been around for quite a long time, and probably about 10 years ago their bikes were pretty desirable here in the UK at least. The Noah Aero bike was ahead of its time, and the Helium SLX was a super lightweight climbing bike. But in the years since, they've fallen from the spotlight a little bit, so hopefully this bike and the way it rides can put them back up to where they deserve to be, because the company does have good heritage, they have a good reputation, probably with older cyclists like myself rather than the younger generation coming through these days, but plenty to like from the looks of their bike so far. So the Falcn RS is their attempt at a lightweight aero all-rounder in the mould of a Specialized Tarmac SL8, and they claim it's as light as their Helium lightweight bike, yet as aero as the aero bike, the Noah. So very impressive claims indeed. The frame weight is 830 grams, so not super lightweight compared to a Tarmac, but par for the course these days for a top level carbon race bike. And the bike I have testing has an Ultegra Di2 group set. There's also a 105 Di2 as well, with deep section DT Swiss wheels that look super fast, and Vittoria Corsa tyres, so pretty decent build, and it weighs 7.4 kilos on my scales. And the price is pretty punchy, as most bikes are these days in this sort of top end race bike space. This one retails for £8,200 in the UK, and there is a 105 Di2 costing a bit less as well. And looking at the bike, for my eyes at least, it's a visually satisfying bike. I love the red, bit black, and some nice aero features, all the hallmarks you expect of an aero bike these days. One feature that stands out from the frame and on their website when reading about the bike is the aero diffuser on the way the fork, crown and fork blends into the frame. There's a sort of kind of kink which is designed to manage the airflow across the fork into the frame. I think a few other bike brands have done this. I think the BMC has something similar, and it's a feature that is claimed to reduce drag by 10% compared to a regular fork, albeit when riding at 50 kilometers per hour. Let's see how it responds to 30 kilometers per hour over the next few weeks. Some other nice details I like include a UDH rear dropout, so future-proofed for any new group sets coming down the pipeline, and a space for a 34mm wide tyre, which is wider than the normal 32 of a race bike. So you could go quite wide if you want to. Not quite all road, but definitely ready for rough roads that you might have to encounter, which most of us do these days. And the geometry, a quick look at the chart reveals the stack and reach is similar to a Tarmac SL8, perhaps a bit higher and a bit longer, but in the right ballpark. So review on this bike coming very soon. Can't wait to see how it compares to a Tarmac and other race bikes in this space, and whether it's good enough to restore Ridley to a position they once enjoyed as a fairly desirable brand here in the UK at least. But let me know your thoughts on Ridley as a bike brand, and whether the bike is enough to tempt you away from the other bike brands you might be looking at the moment. Right, next up, I'm super excited to get my hands on a brand new power meter pedals from Italian company Favero. These are the new gravel and mountain bike SPD compatible pedals, and here they are. Like their road pedals launched a few years ago, which I have here, these are much more affordable than Garmin, SRM and other options. But a key difference straight away is these road pedals, as great as they are, affordable, reliable, consistent data. We have this pod. That's where the electronic gubbins is. The clever stuff is inside that pod, which is cool, works okay, but some people complain about the looks. So a key feature of these is a lack of a pod, because all the clever stuff, all the electronic gubbins are inside a spindle, inside the axle. And it does raise a question of whether this technology is coming to a road pedal in the future. Well, I wouldn't be surprised, so stay tuned for that. But in the meantime, these new MX-2 pedals have a lot going for them. Firstly, the price. They are a lot cheaper than a Garmin Rally XC200 pedal. The dual-sided pedals I have here retail for £600 or $760, while a single-sided option is £400 or $500. Those Garmin pedals are $1,200 or £1,000, so a lot cheaper straight away. But they sure don't look cheap. They look really premium, look really high quality and feel really nice as well. So the pedals are made from aluminium and have a nice reassuringly weighty feel that feels solid and reliable, but of course testing will confirm that over the next few weeks and months. They are fully sealed against water ingress, IP67 rated, and you can replace the cage, the body, the spindle if you damage them in a crash or you clout a rock or whatever it might be. So that's a nice reassuring feature. They're not a disposable item. They can be repaired and kept running if you have any damage issues. So the battery is built into the pedals. It's not replaceable. You can't remove the batteries, but you have this special USB charging port which goes onto the collar, a bit like my Speedplay Power Links. And they're claimed to be good for 60 hours, so pretty good. Not as good as other pedals perhaps, but 60 hours is a few weeks of riding depending on your mileage, and you have this easy charging port as well. The shame is micro USB and not USB-C, but it comes with a cable, so it shouldn't be an issue. The pedals are Shimano SPD compatible, which is great news if you're a Shimano fan like I am. The box includes cleats. You can use any Shimano cleats you might have, and most of my shoes, my mountain bike and gravel shoes have SPD cleats on, so getting them up and running is very easy. So the power meter itself is claimed to be 1% accurate, up to 3000 watts, so plenty enough for me. As well as all the usual power meter data, the company offers cycling dynamics via their own smartphone app. So for example, you have platform center offset, you have power phase, which shows you the phase of the pedaling stroke you are applying the most power, so you can fine tune your pedaling stroke. And it's also rider precision, whether you're in the saddle or out the saddle as well. So really use these to really enhance and fine tune your riding for better racing if you're using power to race to a higher level. I've been wanting power on my gravel and mountain bikes for a while now for testing purposes and for improving my fitness and general training. And I have been impressed, and I still use the company's Power Meter road pedals, so hopefully these are as good as these, but time will tell. Stay tuned for a review very soon. Sticking with pedals, I have a set of the brand new Time XPRO 12 pedals to test. Can these tempt me away from my Shimano and Speedplay pedal preference? Well, there's one way to find out. So SRAM bought Time, the French pedal company, about 3 or 4 years ago now. And this year at Sea Otter Classic, launched a revamped road and mountain bike lineup. So in the road lineup, there are 5 models, and the top of the range model is claimed to be one of the lightest road pedals in the world right now, but comes with a fairly hefty price tag. These are the second tier model, just below the SL, and retail for £300. So still very much a top end expensive pedal. Now, many years ago, Time were a very popular and very common sight in the pro peloton and with regular enthusiast cyclists, but for some reason, probably Shimano, they're not as popular as they once were. So SRAM is taking a gamble, a bet on the pedals and resurrecting their success and popularity, and there are now, as a result of that SRAM ownership and sponsorship of several teams, more pro riders now are using their pedals. So is it time for us to give these pedals another chance? So a key feature of the Time pedals is what they call eye click, and it's how the cleat engages with the pedal and should make them easier to clip in than Shimano and other systems, and arguably better for beginners and new cyclists. So the main difference is how a small lever holds this mechanism back and open. So when you push a cleat in, the pedal is open and ready to receive your cleat, and when you push it in place, the lever moves down and this mechanism snaps back up to hold the cleat on your shoe in place. With Shimano, when you push the cleat into the pedal, you actually push against the mechanism at the back to open and then close around the cleat. So here, with it being open, there should be no pressure, no force to work against when you push a cleat into the pedal. And the cleats offer up to 10 degrees of angular float and 2.5 millimeters of lateral float as well. So hopefully enough float to give me the same freedom I enjoy with my Speedplay pedals, which are my favorite system right now. A cool feature of these pedals, and something bike fitters will love, is the option for 3 axle widths. These are 53 regular, but there's also a narrower 51 and a wider 57 if you need wider or narrower than the stock regular setup. So stay tuned for those, and let me know if you are a Time fan or if you're in the market for a new pedal and these might be in your shortlist this year. Next up, we have a brand new gravel tyre from Panaracer. Brand new model along with a full revamp of their entire range. Now, when I started riding gravel over 10 years ago now, when it's becoming popular in the UK, the Gravelking was the king of tyres because it was one of the few choices available in the gravel space. Back 10 years ago, there weren't many tyres to choose from. And Panaracer were, along with WTB, an early adopter embracing the gravel scene. But in the time since then, other brands have come along, now a lot more choice in the tyre market, and Panaracer have been fairly quiet on updates, but we finally have their first brand new tyre in a long time. So really keen to find out how a tyre performs and whether it's good enough to put Panaracer back at the top. So the new X1 is a new gravel race tyre and designed to be super fast, and that's despite looking like a slower tyre due to chunky nature. But we have a very smooth, if I remove this bit here, we have a very smooth centre line designed to give good straight line, straight up speed. But then for grip in the corners where it's looser and slipperier, we have quite angular shoulder lugs there. And it's a tyre that does look like it should work well in the UK here, where it's often muddy and slippery and not dry and dusty like it is in the US, most of the US anyway. So quite an aggressive shoulder tread pattern, nice open design, should shed mud well, but nice fast rolling centre section, so it should be good on the road as well when you're riding your way to the woods and the gravel. There's also a brand new B design intended to make installation easier with just a track pump. So I'll test that in my review of the tyres in the next few weeks and months. And also hookless compatible as well. And I will fit them to my Crocs, which has hookless wheels, to see how they perform. These are the regular TLR, which retail from £55 starting price and come in 35, 40 and 45s. These are the widest option. 45 is my go-to these days for more comfort and no real compromise in aero and weight compared to 40, which is probably more popular for racing. There is a plus version with extra puncture protection with more reinforcement material underneath the tyre tread. So stay tuned for a review of these very soon. And they do smell very fresh. I love the smell of fresh tyres in the morning. So that's a super quick look at some new bikes and products I'm testing over the next few weeks and months. Got any questions? Put them down below. And I plan to do more content like this, more behind the scenes content for members of the channel. And if you want to be a member of the channel, hit that join button down below. Costs you a few quid a month, helps support the channel. Doesn't cost more than a coffee, and will bring you more access to behind the scenes content and some giveaways coming very soon. So plenty to stay tuned for. Hit that join button down below. Right, that's all for today. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you again very soon.